Expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. It is Pushing the Limits. State of the Union post-game, for lack of a better term. We're going to be going through it. We're going to be talking about it. We're on the YouTube Super Chat. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. We are on X. Of course, pushingthelimits.live, the YouTube Super Chat at PTL Radio Show, and, of course, the Facebook fan page at Pushing the Limits. Before I introduced my in-studio guest, Leonard, who's co-hosting with me today, before I do that, just want to make an opening statement on, in general terms, how I felt about yesterday. First of all, Donald Trump spoke for nearly 2 hours, and the guy gave out medals. He praised athletic sports teams. He constantly lied over and over again, and obviously we're going to be going through all those lies. There are plenty of them. He made no new proposals when it came to policy, which I also think is very important. And he also suggested that we're going to bomb another country. It's interesting when he got standing ovations from Republicans literally after every word he spoke, even taking away food stamps for millions of Americans, and the Republicans stood up and started clapping. There was nothing new in this entire 2-hour speech for the average American, and I felt that this speech was much more important for Donald Trump and Republicans for Democrats because his poll numbers are so bad. He's in the high 30% range when it comes to approval ratings. He's 26% when it comes to registered independents. So, yes, I thought this day was far more important for Republicans than Democrats, and I don't believe Donald Trump moved the needle at all. With that being said, I do have some criticism for Democrats as well. I understand Representative Al Green's frustration, and quite frankly, anybody in this country, especially minorities, when it comes to blatant racism and bigotry and that, for lack of a better term, ape video for a few seconds comparing the Obamas to apes, which is reprehensible. But I'm not sure bringing a sign in there saying black people aren't apes is maybe the right way to go about things, and Al Green got kicked out. What I think was a little bit more frustrating was Ilhan Omar and Tlaib. I don't think any Democrats should have been there. It is my personal opinion that I don't think any Democrats should have been there at all. And for the 60 or so Democrats that decided not to show up, kudos to them. Don't give the man any attention. But for Rashida Tlaib and Omar, you're no better than Marjorie Taylor Greene when you show up and start screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering. I don't think that's good for anybody at the State of the Union, even when Donald Trump is out there speaking and lying. So, yes, I do have some criticisms for some Democrats that were there. I don't think any of them should have showed up. With that being said, we're going to go through a plethora of lies, literally hundreds of lies in this speech. We're not going to go through every single one of them, but certainly the more important ones, and we're going to play you some of the audio. And with that being said, co-hosting with me today to kind of run down this speech and what was said is Leonard Cardinale, of course, my co-host every Wednesday. Leonard, it is good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
How's it going, Brian?
I'm tired. I'm tired today.
You don't
tired of talking about lies,
you
Leonard.
Don't sound at all tired. And you know, another factor, I was thinking in other nations around the world, they're all watching that. It was so embarrassing to have that be our president. I was embarrassed to have him up there representing all of us.
Yeah, and I don't even know where to begin, and it's going to take me like an hour to go through all the lies. So what I'm going to do is we're going to play some clips, and I'll give you a couple lies here and there. But, you know, he falsely claimed that the U.S. has secured $18 trillion in investments. That is an absolute lie. He also misled claims on gas prices. We knew that he would gloat about that stuff. That's exactly what he did. He falsely claimed that he inherited record inflation, and I have the numbers here. It's a joke. In December of 2024, it was 2.9%.
Yep.
January 2025, it was around 3%. And the rate did hit a 40-year high, 9.1%, but that was back in June of 2022, and that was far from the all-time high, which was once at 23.7%.
He said it's 1.7. Right now it's 2.6.
It's a lie.
So that was a complete lie.
I mean, baseless.
He said zero border crossings. That's not accurate.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go through it, and it's just like lie after lie after lie, and baseless claims over and over again while the Republican goons stand up and clap. I want to start off by talking about Donald Trump talking about medals. As you know, this is the guy who dodged the military multiple times, and he talks about how he's always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor. Now, this is embarrassing, to say the least. Listen to this.
Thank you, Royce, and thank you, Eric. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday.
You draft dodging
You know,
coward.
that's for military military personnel.
He's a draft
and it's
dodger.
for an act of valor.
Yeah. He's a draft dodger.
He's never spent a minute in the military. Now, why would he even want one?
I mean, it's like,
why would he want?
What is this fixation with getting medals and awards? Like, I really don't understand that. It's quite embarrassing, right? And this is a guy, again, who dodged the military, and he's talking about how he wants the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's part of the reason why he calls these people suckers and losers. What he said about John McCain, I don't respect him because he was captured. I mean, this guy is a coward, and he's talking about how he wants the Congressional Medal of Honor.
It was embarrassing.
Completely embarrassing. And then this is weird because we were just told 8 months ago that we obliviated Iran's nuclear capabilities. That's what the administration told us, and now all of a sudden Trump is changing tune. Listen to this.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have
That's not
a
accurate.
nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
Your administration just told us 8 months ago that you obliviated their nuclear capabilities.
Obliterated.
What is he saying now? Which one is it? Who's lying, Leonard?
Well, you know, I don't want to belabor the point, but I know the history all back to 1990. And if a MAGA caller wants to call today, or somebody reasonable, I will give them a complete.
That's a double entendre. A MAGA caller, somebody reasonable. Good
Or
luck with
somebody
that.
reasonable.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I can give him a history lesson on Obama and what happened. And basically, he's saying they have already agreed not to make nuclear weapons. What they're fighting over is the enrichment of uranium. That's what they're fighting over.
But Leonard, we were told, again, not to belabor the point, 8 months ago we were told they obliviated their capabilities. Now he's saying completely something different. I like, which one is it?
Having a ballistic missile and having it have the capability of attaching a nuclear warhead and having it go off when you want it to is completely, it takes years to accomplish that.
I agree with that.
Years.
You know what I'm sick of, though? I'm sick of listening to the Israeli government. I am just so sick of Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's why he's really
and
attacking Iran.
This is only beneficial to Israel. I'm sorry, it just is. Now, this was a moment. I don't know if Marco Rubio, it's almost like he was staring into the stars, and he had this weird look on his face. This is the moment where they panned to Marco Rubio, where Donald Trump says, again, he ended 8 wars and saved 35 million lives. Listen to this.
Country has never been stronger. My first 10 months, I ended 8 wars, including Cambodia. Isn't it funny? They're sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have died if it were not for my involvement.
First of all,
None of that's accurate.
what is he talking about? That's another lie.
Most of them weren't at war, and a lot of them, he didn't stop anything.
And Marco Rubio has this really weird look on his face. There were some Republicans that were just, staring and but Marco Rubio was one of them. Yeah, he ended 8 wars and he saved 35 million lives. And this is the moment. Listen, I have my criticisms for Ilhan Omar. I don't like Ilhan Omar. I'm not saying that she's not right on a lot of issues, because I actually think she is. I just don't like her personally. And I don't think you're doing the country any favors when you go to the State of the Union, no matter how frustrated you are with Donald Trump. Shouting at him and screaming at him is not going to accomplish anything. She's right on this issue. When Donald Trump started talking about ICE, she's correct in her frustrations.
She was yelling the word murderer.
Yeah, which I agree, but I don't think this is the right place or time to do it. But anyway, this is the moment where that exchange took place.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
So, again, I don't think Ilhan Omar, I understand the frustration. I agree with what she's saying. But screaming at the president, to me, during a State of the Union makes you no better than Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I criticize them. And yes, I'm going to criticize some Democrats for doing the same thing. It's like a spectacle, right? We all know that Donald Trump is full of crap. We all know that his administration is forcing so many Americans and non-citizens to suffer. We know every other word out of his mouth is a lie. What good is it to stand there and start screaming at the president? Again, you're no better than Boebert.
Well, it did get under his skin. He mentioned them not standing. He mentioned them not clapping. He mentioned them, and it seemed to be annoying him. So maybe there was, maybe it's not proper decorum, but, neither is lying to the public about almost everything.
And here's the moment, though, Leonard, where, as you know, the Trump administration basically has stolen $175 billion from the American people when it comes to these tariffs. And then when people are like, well, are we getting our money back? Besant and others in the administration say, well, go ahead and sue us if you want to. So this is the moment where Donald Trump starts bragging about the Dow Jones and how wonderful these tariffs are. Listen to this.
Now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country.
Yeah, right. You're making great deals. By the way, who gives a crap? The American people want to know when they're getting a refund from your stupid and illegal tariffs. When are we getting the refund for that? Where's this money going, you scumbag? Where is it going? That's my question.
Most countries, like South Korea, has their Dow, or comparison of Dow, has gone up 34%. Ours has gone up something like 18%.
Yeah.
So even though it's gone up, other countries are crushing us. And by the way, can I just mention economically that the Wall Street is not an economic indicator? It's about futures. It's about investment. It's about possibilities. So to use it as an economic indicator, in my opinion, is juvenile.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's sick, it's sad, it's disgusting. And I think this moment right here, this clip that I am about to play for you, to me, speaks volumes on where the Republican Party is at today. Donald Trump, I never thought in my lifetime I would have a president of the United States brag about taking food off the table for millions of Americans that are struggling, that are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, obviously, I'm talking about food assistance, food stamps. As we know, there's always going to be a small percentage of people that are going to take advantage of government programs. It could be welfare, it could be food stamps, Medicaid. But there are millions of Americans, Leonard, as you know, right now, that are really struggling, and they rely on that $200 or $300 a month or whatever it is to be able to go to the grocery store and buy food and be able to put food on the table for their family. There are people right now that don't know where they're going to get their next meal from. And Donald Trump gets up there and he says, quote, "We have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps." Now, most people, when they hear that, most reasonable people most decent people would say, well, that's not good. What are these people going to do? Not the Republican Party.
No, they
This
clapped.
was their reaction after Donald Trump said that. That was their reaction. Every single Republican in there stood up and clapped.
Starving Americans, not helping them, starving them.
Now, it would be one thing if you had a president that said, listen, if you're struggling in this country, we want to help you. We want to get people that are committing fraud with food stamps off of food stamps. Okay, I would like to get a little bit more information on that.
That's a tiny
but-
percentage.
Right. But he didn't say that. I repeat, he said we are lifting 2.4 million Americans a record off of food stamps. I can tell you right now, we don't have 2.4 million Americans that are committing fraud when it comes to food stamps. Why would you clap, Leonard? Why would you clap at something like that? You think that's a good thing?
That's been part of the Republican agenda for as long as I know. I used to sit down at lunch when I was a police officer with friends who were Republicans, and they just wanted everyone off of food stamps. They wanted no welfare, no WIC, no help at all. And like I said before, you can say that economically it helps because they're going to take that savings and give it to billionaires. But what about morally? What about ethically? Is that Christian? Is that Christian to starve the hungry?
Of course not. Do you think most of people that are on food stamps want to be on food stamps? No, of course not. They would want a good paying job. They would want to do things the right way. They wouldn't ask for assistance. And the majority of these people are not on food stamps for more than a year or so. The data shows most people, the majority, over 50% of people that are on food stamps are on it because they lost their jobs. They're in a temporarily difficult situation. They're unemployed. They're looking for another job. And or maybe a spouse lost their job and they don't have the funds to be able to go to the supermarket every week and buy food for their family. It's not something that they're going to be on for 20, 30, 40 years. Obviously, there's always going to be the exception of a small percentage of people that are going to do that. But of these 2.4 million people, overwhelming majority of these people desperately need these food stamps. And Republicans, once again, are standing up and clapping. If Donald Trump said, I made billions of dollars from my crypto scheme, Republicans would stand up and clap about that. If Donald Trump brought up Renee Good and Alex Preddy, Republicans would probably stand up and clap about that too. These are some of the most despicable people that America has to offer. And this is why the Democrats are going to win in the midterms. And that's why I think, in my personal opinion, we're going to have a Democrat in 2028 that's going to win the presidency. This is really sick stuff. And there are a lot of Republicans out there that were watching this speech yesterday. No doubt, they've supported Donald Trump. Many of them have lost their Medicaid. Many of them have lost their food assistance.
They don't care, just as long as them other people don't get it. That's
Right.
their attitude.
It's sick, these people. I don't understand.
I liked your parody yesterday, too, with the country.
Yeah.
The country phone call.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I just don't understand how anybody could stand up and clap at that. And then he's putting J.D. Vance in charge of fraud. Yeah, the eating the cats and the dogs couch assaulter. We're putting him in charge. I mean, this is really some scary stuff here. But I just want to say this once again. And I'm speaking now to every single person in that room that clapped when Donald Trump was gloating about all the people that are off of food stamps. You are all despicable people with no moral compass. You are fake Christians. What would Jesus say about you? The majority of these people are in poverty. They're in desperate need. They have to go to food places like churches and get food and canned goods. And you're going to clap? You would also probably clap at Donald Trump's biggest tax breaks for the top 1%. You would probably clap at that too.
And clapping at losing medical coverage.
It's sick.
Clapping at people who no longer can afford medical care. And then Donald Trump says, oh, yeah, I'm going to send you checks. And instead of giving it to the medical company, we're going to give the money to you. And you know that's never going to happen. That's the same thing as the Doge checks.
Right.
That's the same thing as the income tax checks.
These are very...
Where are they?
These people have no moral compass, and let's be honest, all of these people that are in office or the people that are standing up that we're clapping are people that make six figures a year, that have the best health care that money can buy. They're able to take care of their families. But they stand up and clap when so many people in this country that are suffering need these government programs to survive, and they stand up and clap. You people are despicable. You're disgusting. And when Hillary Clinton called you deplorables, she was 150% correct. Now, this is a moment in the speech where I've had people call into the show this week, and they're so ignorant they don't understand why Mamdani in New York City, who Donald Trump calls a communist mayor, which I don't believe he is, asked for ID to shovel snow.
And you explained it in detail, and that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
You explained it.
And I'll have to explain it again. Let me be clear.
And it wasn't good enough. You gave facts. You said, this is why.
For some of you MAGA people out there, I have to explain it again, that don't seem to understand why Mamdani, and you compare it to voter ID. The reason why Mamdani wants these people to show ID, it's because this is a service that people are getting paid for. We can't have a bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds that
when
don't
you
pay.
get a paycheck in America,
Yeah,
they have to know who you are.
Correct. We can't have a bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds in America that are shoveling snow, that are making, by the way, pretty good money. We're not talking about $5 an hour here. They need to pay taxes. They need to report the money that they're making.
They said it was for tax purposes.
And when
also,
and
you have to.
And that's why you need to show your ID. It is completely, you don't have to pay taxes when you vote. So these are two completely different issues. If you want to have the conversation about voter ID, that's a completely different topic. This is something that is general in every state in this country. If you're getting paid for a service, we need to know who you are. You need to pay your taxes. I don't know why this is so difficult for people to understand.
You know what I heard Mamdani say? Even though I'm a democratic socialist, which is what he calls himself, he said, just so you know, I'm on the stage of all of America, and just so you know, I'm going to do things the right way. I'm going to do it by the law. I'm going to follow the law. It has nothing to do with his platform of democratic socialist.
Right.
He said, I'm going to do things the right way, and the law says, the federal law and the state law says this is what I have to do.
Yep.
Why do they have a problem with that? What did they want him to do? So they can get a gotcha moment and say, you hired people with no ID. Gotcha.
Well, the reason why we're talking about this is the moment, Leonard, when Donald Trump brought this up and he starts attacking this mayor in New York City for asking for ID for a job, which is really what this is all about. Listen to this.
And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats. 89%. And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. Now it's no good.
Yeah,
I showed my ID when I voted.
But this situation is because it's a job. Show me a job that you apply for where you don't have to show your identification. You have to give your Social Security number. You have to show your ID.
Voting doesn't involve taxes. It doesn't involve paychecks. It doesn't involve federal laws. When you go vote, you're identified. Your signature has to match your ID, or they probably won't let you vote.
Yeah, I don't understand.
But you're not applying for a job. You're not getting a paycheck. That's why I was going to say when they call, you just have to start with, in America, when you get a paycheck.
I don't understand.
What's so hard to understand about that?
I don't understand the logic, but let me be very clear. This has nothing to do with voter ID. This is about working. If you work in the United States of America or you apply for a job, we want to make sure that you are not 12 or 13 years old. Last I checked, you have to be at least 16 years old to have a job and pay taxes, which I did when I was 16 years old. They asked me for some sort of identification, and I had to pay taxes. So for those of you out there, I tried to explain this to some of you the other day, and you still didn't get it. This has nothing to do with voter ID. That's a different conversation. This is about working. And Mamdani, who is correct here, wants to make sure that you're not 13, 12, or 14 years old or 15 years old, working, getting paid $30 an hour shoveling snow because the government needs to be able to make money off of you.
They're mad that he took the gotcha moment out of their hands.
Yeah, it's so
I think that's what they're mad about. They were expecting to get a big headline out of it, and instead, the headline is Mamdani decided to do things the right way.
These people are just so stupid. Like
desperate,
I don't
desperate.
even know what to say. And then let's get to the racist part of his speech. And there were plenty of parts, but he calls these Somalis in Minneapolis Somali pirates. He generalizes and calls all of them pirates. Listen to this.
The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah.
Yeah, you're not playing games. You're just executing people on boats. ICE agents are executing people on the streets. This isn't a game. You're playing with human lives is exactly what you're doing, Mr. President, and it's sick.
What about the 34 felonies?
Yeah.
Weren't they for fraud? Conspiracy to commit fraud?
There was.
Wasn't it?
There was, but, you know, if you're debating Tim Pool as I did, he'll say that, you know, these are not real felonies and they're fake felonies and it was all political.
I mean,
but if you don't know everything about every
jury convicted
if you
him.
don't know everything about every charge, that means that, you know, you don't have an argument. We're the only not to get into this topic because I don't want to get too deep into this, but the only point that I was trying to make is that he's convicted. A jury of his peers convicted him. If you think he was overcharged, or you think
then let him appeal and let him get off.
If you think he was overcharged, or you think that the prosecutors this was all political, then okay, fine, let's have that conversation. But the only point that I try to make to people is he is a 34-count convicted felon. Oh, Brian, what exactly are the charges? As you just said, and I said this on the Tim Pool School, that this involved fraud, the underlying crime of falsifying business records, and political campaign contributions.
He said his square footage was
right.
Actually. He exaggerated and said it was bigger than it is.
Yeah. But, you know, again.
That seems to be a common theme.
The racism from Trump and, again, the Republicans standing up and clapping, which should be no surprise to anybody when you attack brown people. In this case, Somali pirates. Do you know how many good people, Somalians, that live?
Everyone, they interviewed people who live there, Brian, not to interrupt you, but every single one of them said they're great neighbors, they're hardworking people, their kids are great, they love having them there, they want them there. And so he's just picking on them because they're a different... You know, they're dark skinned. That's why he's picking on them.
Do you know how many good people in this country from Somalia, they're not pirates. There are a lot of people in this country from that background, where they are from, that are hardworking people, that put food on the table for their families. And Nick Shirley, who I've always said is a complete imbecile, did not uncover anything. Any of the businesses he went to, there are no new investigations and no new charges have been filed on anybody. He didn't find anything.
It was all fake news.
These are not Somali pirates. Many of these people come from good families that are hard workers, and they deserve to be here, and they deserve respect. But, again, if you're Donald Trump and the MAGA base, they love it when he attacks brown people. They love it when he attacks undocumented immigrants, people that are brown, people that have accents. This is what his base loves. And as I've said before, and I say again, I don't think everybody that voted for Donald Trump is a racist, but I do believe every racist in this country did vote for Donald Trump. Now, this is a laughable part of the speech. There were many laughable parts. I shouldn't say this was the only laughable part. But he talks about how he's protecting Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. First of all, we've heard Republicans threaten to take away Social Security, and he's taken away over 20 million people in this country off of Medicaid. Listen to this.
Also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
There's the Republican clap again, the Republican golf clap. I swear.
All three have been on the chopping block. He's lying.
I'm convinced that if Donald Trump went up there and he used racial slurs, they would clap.
They probably would.
I mean, these people are so sick, and they're such Trump mushroom gobblers. They clap at every other word. It's so disgusting. But anyway, somebody who's not a Spanberger, she had the Democrat response.
I thought she did pretty good.
Yeah, so this was a point in her speech where I thought she was very poignant, and I think this was the most important part after this speech as to what many people are saying. And I think she made it very clear to the American people, is this really what you wanted? These are the questions that she asked the American people. I thought this was great.
Tonight, as we watched our nation's lawmakers gather for a joint session of Congress, we did not hear the truth from our president. So let's speak plainly and honestly. And let me ask you, the American people watching at home, 3 questions. Is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? Is the president working to keep Americans safe both at home and abroad? Is the president working for you?
I thought that was very well said. Obviously, the answer is no, unless you're a tech billionaire, unless you're in the top 1%. The answer is no. How could anybody say yes?
She made a good point. And I think the reality for Republicans is that their attempt to bend reality is not working.
Yeah.
Because we all go to the store, we all get gas, we all buy houses, we all have credit cards, we all have debit cards, and we know I go shopping for groceries, and I could spend $150 or more just on basics, just on a couple of bags of basics, and so the reality, even though they're trying to bend reality, the reality is that we all know that that's not the truth.
It's not the truth, and I thought that was very well stated. And this is when she goes on and talks about how Donald Trump is only out for himself. She talks about enriching himself and his family. And I thought this was also really important. Listen to this.
We all know the answer is no. In his speech tonight, the president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. And he offered no real solutions to our nation's pressing challenges, so many of which he is actively making worse. He tries to divide us. He tries to enrage us, to pit us against one another, neighbor against neighbor. And sometimes he succeeds. And so you have to ask, who benefits from his rhetoric, his policies, his actions, the short list of laws he's pushed through this Republican Congress? Somebody must be benefiting. He's enriching himself, his family, his friends. The scale of the corruption is unprecedented. There's the cover-up of the Epstein files, the crypto scams, cozying up to foreign princes for airplanes and billionaires for ballrooms, putting his name and face on buildings all over our nation's capital. This is not what our founders envisioned, not by a long shot. So I'll ask again, is the president working for you? We all know the answer is no.
Very well said, and I just want to add something real quickly because this is important in regards to the Epstein files. Deputy Attorney General Blanche, we've learned yesterday, wrote a memo. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. And he instructed the DOJ officials reviewing the Epstein files to flag 302 memos, the form that the FBI uses to memorialize interviews.
A 302 form.
Right. That's the exact kind of document that was reported this week that was missing with respect to Trump's accuser. They have specifically redacted the files that are damning to Donald Trump. And I've speculated that all along, and now it rings true.
Well, Todd Blanche is trying to say that they were following the provisions of the law that was passed by pretty much everyone. And there's nothing in there that says you should protect possible. Now, he could redact the girl's name from it that gave the testimony, but it doesn't say anything about protecting possible suspects.
This is a massive cover-up from top to bottom. Blanche, who once was Donald Trump's personal attorney, is still Donald Trump's personal attorney. And Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and the rest of these clowns are covering up for Donald Trump, and I believe others that have done some horrible
I think
things.
it's unraveling. What do you think, Brian? I think little by little,
Well, we'll see.
They're just, you think they're going to be able to hide that?
As long as Donald Trump is in office, I don't think we're going to get any accountability until he leaves office. Okay, so this is going to be the very exhausting part of the show. I promised you guys that I would go through as many of the lies that Donald Trump told. We played some of the clips, but now and by the way, what I'm about to say and what we are going to go over together here are not opinions. I have the facts to back up the lies that I am saying that Donald Trump spoke of. First, he falsely claimed that the U.S. secured $18 trillion in investments. It's a blatant lie. They've never showed evidence of that. And based on what we've seen and what we've heard and what we haven't seen, it's a major exaggeration. And again, they haven't shown any evidence of that. But he claimed that gasoline prices are below $2.30 a gallon in most states. No state has an average gas price this week of $2.37 per gallon. It was not below $2.37 a gallon. There's only 2 states that had an average below $2.50 a gallon. There are some individual gas stations that are selling gas here and there below $2 per gallon, but very few. And according to AAA, the national average is somewhere around $2.95 per gallon. This is an easy fact check. Anybody could just go on social media or do a Google search and see what the national average is. It is a lie what Donald Trump is saying. He falsely claimed that he inherited record inflation. It's not true. In December of 2024, inflation was at 2.9%. January 2025, it was around 3%. He also said this is the highest inflation in the history of this country that he took over. No, it was at an all-time high at 23.7% back in 1920. In June of 2022, it went to 9.1%. More lies from the president of the United States that can easily be fact-checked if you just go online and look this up yourself. And
but they won't do that.
No, they won't.
No, the MAGAs don't do that. They
won't.
just watch Fox News and say, that's what he said.
Now, Leonard, I've been talking about this nonstop about the grocery prices because Trump has been touting nonstop a decline in grocery prices. But overall, as I've said time and time again, grocery prices are up.
Just go shopping.
Yeah. Grocery prices are up an average of 2.1% since January of 2025. And far more grocery products have gotten more expensive during the presidency than they've gotten cheaper. The average price of beef and veal, while it did decline a little bit in January compared to December by 0.9%, it was still 15% higher than it was in January of 2025. It's a joke. The U.S. economy grew 2.2% in 2025, which was lower than in any year of the Biden presidency. There was 2.8% growth in 2024. And the fall in 2025 was a government shutdown and reduced growth. The unemployment rate increased from 4% in January 2025 to 4.3% in January 2026. And if you want to really talk and dive deep into the economy, the total number of jobs added in 2025 was 181,000. That is the lowest since 2020.
If it's true.
Yeah. And we can also go back to the consumer price index. It fell from 3% in January 2025 to 2.4% in January 2026. But Trump certainly has a few positive things to cite. But when he says everything's down and everything's headed in the right direction, it's a blatant lie. And you know, Leonard, we've talked about tariffs on this show before. Trump, again, lying to the American people. I know that'll be a shock to many of you, claiming that foreign countries are paying for the tariffs.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. He says foreign countries are paying for our tariffs.
That is not accurate.
It's not true. It's being covered, as I mentioned time and time again on this show, by a combination of U.S. businesses and U.S. consumers. But yet, he says that the foreign countries are paying for it. That is a blatant lie. It's a lie. And it's like, it's not an opinion.
I think that, like I said before, I think the Republicans just have a certain reality that they want to be, and they're just going to go with that reality. And when you say that the tariffs are not paid by Americans, they're just like, in their reality, I don't know. I think they have an issue with reality. That's what I see.
I think they're in an alternate universe. Another lie. Donald Trump said yesterday that more Americans are working today than ever before. The employment population ratio, where we get these statistics, went from 60.1% in January 2005, the month Trump returned to office, to 59.8% in January of 2026. The unemployment rate measures unemployment as a percentage. And I gave you the numbers. It was 4% when Biden left office. and 4.3% in January of 2026. What does that mean? The unemployment rate went up. It's a lie. By the way, he also claimed he passed the largest tax cuts in American history. He did say that.
I was wondering, I was sitting there watching it, and I was wondering, what does he mean by that? The only people who got tax cuts were the top 1%.
Exactly.
Because I don't know about you, Brian, and when you did your taxes, I didn't get any tax break at all.
No. Well, you're correct about that. Do you want to know who did do that? It was former President Ronald Reagan. His 1981 tax package, which cost 2.9% of GDP over 4 years. Okay, this is a lie again. And he already broke his promise. He said he would always protect Medicaid. He promised he would always protect it. How's that working out? In the big and beautiful bill, as I talk about on this show all the time, he signed this into law last summer, slashed more than $900 billion in federal funding. Millions and millions and millions of people that are impacted by this. And some of those people, able-bodied Medicaid enrollees, ages 19 to 64, some of them work, they volunteer, and they attend school or participate in job training. These are people that are directly affected by this. And if you want to talk about eligibility, the Affordable Care Act's Medicaid expansion provisions have eligibility reviewed more frequently and will have to pay up to $35 for certain care. Medicaid enrollees could also face other changes, and states would receive less federal funding for the program. He's literally doing the opposite of what he said.
He said he's the only president that cut prescription drug prices, when in fact Biden, if you remember, cut insulin to $35 a month, and it was capped.
Yep.
So that's a reality. And if you remember, in 2016, Trump tried to do that, but he couldn't get the cooperation on it. It was Biden who did that.
I know a lot about this, and people, when you talk about insulin being capped, a lot of MAGA supporters will say, well, Donald Trump's the guy that started that. Well, yeah, Joe Biden is the guy that
did try to get it done.
Joe Biden is the guy that switched Donald Trump's policy and changed Plan B and Plan D on both healthcare plans, giving millions of Americans more access to insulin capped at $35. And what did Donald Trump do the first day he got back into office? He signed an executive order going back to what he did prior, and now millions of Americans are unable to get their insulin capped at $35. Trump also falsely claimed that he eliminated taxes on Social Security. That was one of his promises back in 2024.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. The domestic policy package that Trump signed last summer, it did create an additional temporary $6,000 per tax deduction for individuals ages 65 and older.
Exactly.
But the White House itself has acknowledged millions of Social Security recipients age 65 and older will continue to pay taxes on their benefits.
It was 65 and over, but it was capped at 3 years.
Yeah.
So in other words, whatever benefit they saw was going to sunset when he, is done with his presidency.
Right. I mean, the list goes on and on here. I'm not even naming all the lies. Keep in mind, I'm just naming some of them, Leonard. He also falsely claimed that he balanced the federal budget by ending fraud, which is insane. First of its kind estimate from the Federal Government Accountability Office released in 2024 and found that between $233 billion and $521 billion is lost in fraud annually. The deficit came in at just under $1.8 trillion for the most recent fiscal year, and more than tripled, which ended in September, according to the Treasury Department, more than triple the highest estimated fraud total. What is he doing?
Isn't the deficit, at last I looked, it was 38 point something trillion. Is it higher than that, or you don't know?
That I'm not sure, but what I do
it's at a ridiculous number.
Yeah, what I do know is that it's tripled, and this is the worst when you lie to our service members. I mean, he's lying to the American people every day, but especially those brave and men and women in uniform that serve the country, Leonard. He made a false claim that payments to service members came from tariffs. A senior administration official said the $2.6 billion cost of the bonuses were being taken from the $2.9 billion in extra funding for basic allowances for housing and payments
which they were getting anyway.
Right. So again, it's like, all you have to do is look this stuff up, and you can see basically everything he said yesterday is a lie. Oh, gosh, don't even get me started on immigration. He falsely claimed that a Charlotte killer came in through open borders. That was also not true. Trump laminated the murder last summer of a refugee. And by the way, it's a terrible, tragic story of this Ukrainian woman, Irina Zaritska. It's a horrible story. But she was her life ended tragically on a public transit in Charlotte, North Carolina. But Trump added the false claim that the person who committed this crime migrated to the U.S. which is 150% not true. The U.S. Charlotte Observer reported that the man's Facebook page said he was born in Charlotte and attended high school there. And the newspapers already interviewed his mother. That's a blatant lie. So we see this every time there's a horrible tragedy. They want to make it sound like it's an undocumented immigrant or it's somebody from another country. It's not true.
Unreality, anti-reality.
Yeah, and you think her family cares where he's from? No, they want justice. It's a horrible tragedy. They're using these victims of these horrific crimes as political pawns to try to score points, and they're lying about it too, which makes it even worse. It makes it even worse. So Trump also falsely claimed along that same line, Leonard, that just under 12,000, quote, murderers entered the U.S. as migrants. That is 150% not true. According to the Department of Homeland Security and independent experts, that figure appears that Trump was referring to when he uses that number about non-citizens who entered the U.S. not just under Biden, but over the course of multiple decades. Let me repeat, multiple decades. That wasn't just under Joe Biden.
Including 2016 to 2020.
Exactly. But they don't want to talk about that, right? They don't want to talk about Molly Tibbetts or any of these ones, right?
And if you get to the 0 border crossings, I have stat on that too, in case you don't.
Yeah. And by the way, Donald Trump also made the false claim that migrants are coming from prisons and mental institutions. He keeps saying that over and over and over again, Leonard.
And they buy it.
Yeah, there's absolutely
no MAGAs looking at the TV going, that's BS. I don't believe that. None.
It's a good Trump impersonation, by the way. I like it. Might need that later today.
We're the hottest country on the planet.
Yeah. He also claimed he ended 8 wars. And I keep talking about this over and over again. He has not ended 8 wars. The list includes a war involving the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, but that war has continued.
Yeah, Rwanda still has military in the Congo, and they are killing people daily. That's a lie. Does that sound like a war that was stopped?
Of course not. He also included the armed conflict between Thailand and Cambodia, where fighting temporarily erupted.
They're still killing people at the border.
In
Taiwan, they're still fighting over the border.
Exactly. He talked about Gaza. He talked about Hamas. By the way, Israel and Hamas broke a ceasefire 24 hours after a ceasefire was put in place.
He said that one's coming around. It's coming around. They're still killing people, but it's coming around.
Yeah, but he ended 8 wars. Saying he ended 8 wars is saying like he eats a salad every day.
Pakistan said he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's just, again, another blatant lie where anybody could just go online and find that. He also claimed that about Iran and what he said about nuclear capabilities. He said, our fundamental convictions are crystal clear. Iran will under no circumstance ever develop a nuclear weapon. Neither will Iranians ever forego our right to harness and dividends of peaceful nuclear technology for our people. But in a speech to the United Nations General Assembly in September, Iranian president said, I hereby declare once more before this assembly that Iran has never sought and will never seek to rebuild a nuclear weapon.
There you go.
And then we were told 8 months ago that we obliterated their nuclear capabilities. So which one is it? I mean, they're lying either 8 months ago or now. I think maybe a little bit of both. That's just my personal opinion.
The fight is over enriching uranium. It's not over nuclear weapons. They're not even there yet. That's not even the fight.
Yep. And Trump always, when he always talks about NATO, it seems like he always makes
he doesn't like NATO
inaccurate claims.
He does not like them.
He repeated the claim that before he prodded NATO members to spend more on defense, the U.S. was paying for almost all of NATO. But NATO figures show that in 2016, the year before Trump took office, the first time, U.S. defense spending made up about 72% of the total NATO defense spending. In 2024, the year before he returned to office, it was about 63%. When he took office in 2017, the U.S. was contributing about 22% of the budget. I mean, the numbers are right in front of you. And the lies just continue. And then he makes false claims, as he always does, about the U.S. elections. He makes the series of false claims, calling on Congress to pass a bill requiring voter identification and proof of citizenship when registering to vote. But he continues to make the case that he won the 2020 election and that it was rigged and that it was stolen. And we all know that he had the opportunity over 61 times in a courtroom to show any proof of that. And his attorneys
lost every case.
Any proof, because all the judges, including some that were appointed by Donald Trump, ruled that there was no merit, meaning there was not enough evidence, if any, to support any sort of.
And Steve Barr, his attorney general, went to the public and said there was no significant cheating in the 2020 election. He said it straight out.
Yeah. And something that you know, because you were a cop for 25 years, and Trump claimed that he inherited rampant crime but by historical standards, it was actually extremely low. I have the stats here. He claimed this, and there's no firm definition of the word rampant, but crime was very low by historical U.S. standards at the time Trump returned to office back in January 2025. The U.S. violent crime rate in 2024 was the lowest since 1969, and the property crime rate was the lowest since 1961. So all the stats show the opposite, again, to what he's referring to about the economy, about crime. It's a blatant lie. And then the claims he makes about crime in Washington, D.C. were also blatantly false. Trump claimed that his takeover of law enforcement and deployment of the National Guard in D.C. Was one of the safest cities, now one of the safest cities in the country. That is also not true, nor is his claim that the capital had almost no crime anymore. More than 1,300 crimes were reported just in the last month alone, by the way. And of the 50 large cities tracked by Real-Time Crime Index, D.C. had the 9th highest murder rate and 12th highest violent crime rate in 2025. So I guess deploying those troops didn't really help, did it?
Well, like I said before, there's a crime displacement theory where if you flood the zone with a bunch of cops because you're tired of the crime, all you do is displace it to other areas. And as the police go back and start to do normal policing, the criminals come right back. And he's just trying to make it seem like an alternate reality, where in his reality, there's zero crime or almost no crime in Washington, D.C., which is not the reality.
And then finally, the unproven claim on fraud in Minnesota. It's almost identical, in my opinion, to they're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs. He repeated the claim that the Somali residents of Minnesota have committed $19 billion in fraud. And this $19 billion figure, it's never been close to proven. And in December, a federal prosecutor claimed that half or more of the $18 billion in federal funds billed in 14 Medicaid services in Minnesota deemed at high risk for fraud are now under third-party audit ordered by Governor Tim Walz, by the way, but $9 billion is not $19 billion. Last I checked, that's not even half of what he's claiming. And Governor Tim Walz has done his due diligence, to his credit, by having open investigations about this. So again, it's sick, it's disgusting. And again, those are just some of
20 cases have been adjudicated, and that was before any of this even started. That was before Nick Shirley and all that fake news.
Now, those are just some of the lies, Leonard. I could go on and list you more, but I wanted to make sure that when I said, hey, unlike a MAGA supporter, they'll say, Lion Brian, you're a liar, and then they don't come up with any reason why I'm lying or what I'm lying about. When I say somebody is lying, I have the receipts and I have the facts behind me and the statistics, which I just shared for all of you.
Sometimes I listen, Brian, and the guys, they're not even paying attention to what you're saying. They call in, and you could tell they waited to call with this gotcha, right? And they're like, hey, Brian, what about blah, 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 blah? And you're like, all right, I'll answer that. And then you answer it, and then they change the subject and say, well, let me ask you a question. Yeah. And then they get mad. Yeah. Well, and they either hang up or call you names or
so that's par for the course.
Shout at you.
That's par for the course. But let me be very clear. I have the receipts to back up all of those false claims and lies. We just went through dozens of them. And I want to hear from you, MAGA, and I want to open up the phone lines.
They're not going to call. What are they going to say?
And I want to know what you thought about the speech last night. Is there anybody out there that thinks that this helps Donald Trump? Is there anybody out there that think you won over some?
They said that he solidified his base. It was aimed at MAGAs. It was aimed at the 32 or 33% that support him. But other than that, he didn't move the needle. And I agree.
So
I agree with
as we do every day, I always give people the opportunity to call into the show, agree or disagree. I just gave you dozens of blatant lies that you could look up and Google yourself if you don't believe me. But now I'm going to open up the phone lines to you. What were your thoughts on the State of the Union address yesterday? I did have some criticisms for Democrats. I didn't think Tlaib and Omar should have been doing what they were doing. In fact,
I didn't mind it.
In fact, I didn't think any Democrats should have been sitting there. I think they all should have just not even showed up to this charade, because that's what it is. But we're talking about that as well.
What about Kelly? What about
General Kelly was sitting there, and listen, he served this country honorably. So it's
but he was glaring at Trump the whole time.
Yep, I saw that.
He was glaring, and I think Trump noticed, because you look at his eyes, and I think he noticed a couple of times. But I think that has some value. Staring down someone who tried to ruin your life.
I mean, I suppose, and I'm not going to criticize him. Somebody who served this country honorably, but I think they all would have been best suited just to not show up. As far as what Al Green did, when it came to holding up a sign. He eventually got kicked out, and he knew he would. Holding up a sign that said "Black people aren't apes." I gave you my opinion on that at the beginning of the show. I think, I understand his frustration, and any person of color, obviously, I was even offended by that video. I just don't think bringing up a sign like that, he knew that he was going to get kicked out. But, I mean, we'll get your opinions on that as well. Here's the number, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation,
They're full already?
702-221-7283. So we're
People have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, we're gonna get right to the phone calls right now. Do we have five lines? Oh, there we go. Okay, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Brandon. Brandon is first up on PTL. What's up, Brandon?
All right. So remember what Joe Biden said in his own State of the Union speech. It's on video, obviously. He said some Republicans, I think he should have generalized all of them, but he said Republicans are going to be the sunset to Social Security and Medicaid, and they all booed him. But now they're cheering for when they got rid of him.
Yeah, because they're two-faced phonies. Listen, I'm being completely honest here. I'm not being facetious when I say if Donald Trump hurled out a racial slur, I believe many of those Republicans would stand up and start clapping. So they'll clap at, they're a bunch of hypocrites. They'll clap on anything. And they're a bunch of buffoons who have no backbone and will continue. I mean,
they don't like Social Security because they don't understand
Look
it.
at the way they clapped when they honored Rush Limbaugh, who I think was a cancer to society, by the way. Think about that for a moment, right? And listen, I'm done talking about Erica Kirk. Okay, I'm done. I'm done talking about her. I'm done talking about
that was
Charlie
so
Kirk.
phony last night. The way she was looking at her and clutching her pearls.
I'm just done with her. She's a whack job. Go ahead, Brandon.
And like you said, they obviously know immigrants, non-black and non-white people aren't going to vote for them. Well, Cubans are pretty much the only the ones who vote for him, which is stupid. Yeah. But they will not vote for him because they're not going to vote for him. And the reason why they're really scared of that is because they think if black people, and it's not just black people, Mexicans, whatever, they think they're going to do what they did to us. They think we're going to put them as slaves. We're going to genocide them.
Well, like I said, I agree with you, Brendan, and I appreciate your call. And like I've said before, and I'll say again, it was never about making America great again. It was about making America white again. And if you needed any examples, you could just listen to the speech and watch what took place last night. 702-221-7283. Again, 702-221-7283. You're listening to 107.1 FM and 1400 AM KSHP. Just to reset things for you a little bit here, we're talking, of course, about the State of the Union address. Leonard Cardinal joining me in studio as well. I pointed out dozens of lies, and I brought facts to back that up. But if you disagree, you're welcome to call in. Let's go to Scott. Scott is next up on PTL. Hi, Scott.
Hey, how are you? It's been a long time since I've called in, but I've been listening. I was having a good day till I put on your show.
That's terrible.
I'm having a great day. How do you save Social Security and Medicare? You don't put revenue into the system, i.e. tax the rich. I just had a funny little interaction with a white woman on the bus. When I get angry, I start to riff. And when I hear about Donald Trump, I just start going on a stream of conscious. So eventually she told me, shut up. And I'm like, and then she admitted being a Republican. And I'm like, well, you have an accent. And maybe I shouldn't have said it, but I said, Donald Trump would want you to go back where you came from. And then I'm like, no, wait a minute. You're white. No, you're welcome here. And,
speaking of going back to where you came from, I think Fetterman should just go back to his hole. I mean, he's the only,
I can't stand
he's the only Democrat.
He shook his hand.
He's the only Democrat that shook Trump's hand. And listen,
he's an idiot.
yeah, I just think Fetterman is an absolute embarrassment.
They don't understand. You know what, Scott? They don't understand that Social Security is your money. It's not government money. It's not their money. It's money that you've been paid over your lifetime. So when you get old, when Roosevelt created it in 1935, it was so that older people, after they stopped working, would not become poverty stricken. and it's your money. It's an investment that you put in, almost like a pension. So they're giving you back money on your money that you let them hold for your entire life.
Thank you for the call, my friend. I got to get to some other callers. I do appreciate you. Let's go 702-221-7283. Brandon. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard. How are you guys?
Hi, Brandon.
Good.
You know, what really bugged me last night during the State of the Union address was Trump mentioning about how he wants to do away with mail-in voting.
Yeah.
You have no idea how much mail-in voting has really made voting easier. I think we should make every effort possible to expand voting and not make it harder. I mean, why is that such an issue? Why do we got?
I'll tell you, Brandon,
harder on people to vote.
Brandon, I agree with you. You know why? Because they don't want minorities voting, because that does not benefit the Republican Party. During COVID, if you recall, Donald Trump was telling you not to mail in vote. Don't do it. Don't mail in ballot.
And then he did it.
Yeah, and then he did it himself. And then they were wondering why it took a little longer to tally the votes the next day. But listen, it's so insane. And you're right. He's still saying that. He's still telling people not to mail in ballot. Listen, Republicans want to make it more difficult for people to vote. Let me be very clear on this. The more people that vote benefits Democrats, because the majority of people in this country are not Republicans. That's number one. The more brown people or people from other countries that come into this country that are legally allowed to vote is more beneficial to the left than the right.
Yep.
It's why they make it harder for people to come into this country legally. They say, well, we want you to come into this country legally, but we just want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. Then why don't you make it easier? It takes sometimes 10 to 15 years.
How do you come in the right way?
Naturalized citizens.
How do you come in the right way when they end the programs like seeking asylum, and they won't allow you to come to this country and seek asylum?
Yeah.
And so what's the program? Somebody please tell me what the program is. Refugees cannot come here anymore. So tell me what the program is to become a legal immigrant. I would really like to know if somebody knows, because I don't.
And by the way, I don't know where my birth certificate is. You know, it's not the easiest process in the world to get it. And I would also
I'm not going to carry it around.
You can go to some weapon shows, is the wording I would use. And sometimes you don't even have to show ID to buy a weapon. But, you know, they want people to show ID to vote. And I find that to be troubling. All right, let's get back to the phone calls at 702-221-7283. We have one phone line open, by the way, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Kim. Kim is next up on PTL. Hello, Kim.
Hey, Brian. Leonard, how are you?
Hi, Kim.
I did actually watch that last night. I'm ashamed to say it, but I just wanted to see how many lies he was actually going to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And every single topic he talked about, he lied about.
I lost count.
Right. Well, I looked at factcheck.org, and there are pages of everything he talked about. Yeah. I'm glad he gave the military their medals, but that one guy was 100 years old. He should have had his medal years ago.
Did you see the moment he talked about his father, Fred Trump? Boy, that was so awkward when he talked about his dad, because the man is so weird when he talks about his family or people that you're supposed to love. I thought that was a weird moment as well, because he almost never brings up his dad. It was just very strange. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Almost every word out of his mouth was a lie last night. It certainly didn't move the needle. If there's one thing that Donald Trump needed to accomplish yesterday, if he cares about the midterms, is that you need to get some of those independents. Over 75% of independents right now,
I think it might be even higher than that,
are not supporting Donald Trump. So that's why Democrats, I think, are going to have a pretty good midterm election. But I don't think, can anybody convince me that what happened yesterday is going to bring people to the MAGA right?
He did nothing to move the needle.
No.
You agree, Kim? It seemed like he was talking to MAGAs, and they were all happy with what he was saying, but he didn't move the needle as far as gaining any popularity or getting any votes for the next midterm.
No, everything, it didn't help him a bit.
Yeah, I was just talking to his base.
So upset because the Democrats wouldn't stand up and clap for him.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely
did get mad about that.
He definitely probably has the clap. That's for sure. Thank you for the call, my dear. I appreciate it. 702-221-7283. Again, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Casey. Casey is next up on PTL. Hello, Casey.
Hey, B, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
What's up? Two things. First off, I wish somebody would reach out to Club 11, all right, and talk to them and have them pay for these our gold winning women and have them party like the men did. I'm really disappointed that nobody has reached out to make them celebrate. Our girls.
Well, Flavor Flav did. He invited them to Vegas and to a big party. He reached out to them.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did. I think the video went viral, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought the joke that he made, and I know he tried to clean that up yesterday with the Olympic gold medal women's team, hockey team, but the original comment he made to the men's team was, oh, geez, now I have to, I'm paraphrasing here, now I have to invite the women too, because he's a misogynist pig. And I thought it was inappropriate. And even though some people might say he was just joking, it's an inappropriate joke, and it was wrong. It was wrong.
But if that Club 11 had any sort of pride, okay, they would do the right thing. If any of them listen from that club, a manager or anything, they should reach out to that women's Olympic team, say, something, let us take care. We're going to put on carte blanche. You guys come down. We're going to fly you in ourselves. All the money they freaking make, they can fly that women's team and let them party like the men's did. With that.
How about this?
I think the women didn't want to go.
How about this? Here's an idea. Any athlete from America that won a gold medal should be invited to the White House. It is their choice whether they want to come or not. Why don't you invite everybody that won a gold medal? You have one day. If there are scheduling conflicts, fine. Too bad. You schedule something. I don't know what that was. We had some noise.
It sounded like a police radio.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me. Anyway, thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate it. I do want to go to the YouTube super chat as we are speaking. There are plenty of people that want to get their voices heard in different ways, maybe not just calling in. So we are happy to do that. Leonard Cardinale is the official voice.
As soon as it comes up on my screen.
Yeah, it's the official voice speaker of the PTL radio show. So, Leonard, I know we have a few YouTube super chats where your questions and comments can be heard. Leonard, is your video up to live?
Oh, it is now.
There we go. Go right ahead.
The most disturbing. This is Minnesota Vet says the most disturbing moment when he said Democrats can't win any election unless they cheat, and all the Republicans stood up and cheered. You know why? Because that's also part of their alternate reality, Brian, where in their reality they can always win unless the other side cheats, and there's been no proof of any cheating.
Yeah, certainly you're right about that.
Another one?
Every single speech he makes, he's
going Immortal Suspect says Marco Rubio had a look on his face like he knows he sold his soul to the devil, and he was coming to collect. Clock's ticking, ...
I had a very interesting conversation about Marco Rubio yesterday, and I'm going to say who it was because we're trying to get him on the show Friday. He is a conspiracy theorist, MAGA supporter. But if you're a poker player or you know anything about poker, you know who this guy is. I've known him for years. His name is Mike the Mouth Matisow. I went to a charity poker event last night, and me and Mike were having a conversation. I'm trying to get him on the show Friday. Now, I disagree with almost everything he says, but he did say something yesterday that could ring true, that J.D. Vance might step aside, and maybe it's Marco Rubio that'll run for president, because I think actually
he's got a better chance than J.D.
That's what I told him. I said, you might be right about that. I think Marco Rubio has a better chance to win than J.D. Vance. So we'll have to wait and see, how that plays out. But I thought that was interesting. I think there's one more YouTube super chat. Go
from
ahead.
Alexa Gibson, one of our regulars. Mm-hmm. She says, just like he said in his first time, that Mexico is going to pay for the border wall. So that was his. So obviously Mexico never paid for the border wall. In fact, they only built, I think, about 1,000 feet of it, and
it's a joke.
It wasn't built very well.
No.
So once again, alternate reality, fake reality, unreality, whatever you want to call it. I don't know why they decide to believe these lies, but last night they were cheering for things that were patently untrue.
No doubt. Let's get right back to the calls, which are very busy. Let's go to Ryan. Ryan is next on PTL. Hello, Ryan.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I was talking to my mom, actually. She came over today to watch my kid, and she was talking about Trump's comments about the hockey team. I had no idea what they actually were, but I think the whole thing was, I'm going to have to invite the women's hockey team, because if I don't, I'll get impeached.
Right.
And it wasn't a joke towards the women's hockey team. It was a joke towards the people who impeach him. Yeah.
Well, here's why
And he did. Hold on. He did he did invite the women's hockey team.
He did, and they
to
declined.
the State of the Union, and they declined.
Yeah. So here's
They said due to their busy schedule.
So here's why, Ryan, with respect, I disagree with you, and I do not give him the benefit of the doubt. Because you look at his history and the way he's talked about women, the way he's treated women, and the fact that in his history, he certainly is more inclined to invite men than women. So I'm not sure I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. It was kind of, I took it more as, oh, geez, now I'm going to have to, invite the women's team, almost like it's a chore.
Especially strong women.
And here's something else. If what you're saying was true, why didn't he call the women's team and congratulate them? Because to my knowledge, he did not do that.
I mean, he might have.
No, he did not. No, he did not. No, he did not.
Okay.
Nobody in the women's.
Relax.
Sir, I'm relaxed. I'm just disagreeing with you, and I'm giving you the reason why. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just saying the reason.
I'm not saying you are.
I'm just saying. Well, listen. This is the way I talk, bro. I'm a guy that has passion. I'm sorry if you don't like that. I'm just respectfully.
Sometimes the passion is blinding to you, though.
Is he gonna? Is he assessing you?
Hold on.
Is this an analyst?
Give me an no, that's okay. Sir, did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes.
I'm shocked.
I'll answer that.
So you don't like my style. So hold on. Let's just say I'm blinding to you, but yet you voted for the guy who attacks women and Gold Star families and people on looks. You voted for the guy who literally. Okay. So why is it? No. Hold on. No. Because, and the reason why I say this is because it seems like you have different standards for different people. I didn't even call you any names or raise my voice, but you're criticizing me because you want me to relax. I'm wondering, do you have any of those criticisms for the man who you support, who's the leader of the free world? I'm just asking you.
He didn't relax. He didn't relax. He got mad.
I'm asking you very calmly, sir. Does that bother you at all?
I can't hear you. Both of you guys need to stop talking.
Okay, I think you need. Okay, hold on, Leonard. Do I have to repeat the question again, sir? Would you like me to repeat it again? Are you serious? Okay. So you're criticizing me and you're telling me to relax, even though I didn't even raise my voice, and I'm just a radio host. Have you ever criticized Donald Trump for attacking Gold Star families, attacking women, telling them to go back to their S-hole countries? Have you criticized Trump for having nicknames for every single politician that he disagrees with? Have you criticized Donald Trump for saying that 6 elected Democrat officials should get the death penalty because they told people not to abide by unlawful orders? You seem to be a little annoyed and frustrated with me, and you think I need to relax.
He must live in that alternate reality.
Hold on a second, Leonard, because if you talk, apparently he can't hear.
Too bad.
So, sir, have you ever had any criticism for the man who you voted for, any of those things that I mentioned, or is it just me because you think I need?
I had an open mind whenever he would because I've heard that he attacks women. I actually looked into this, and the label of him attacking women is him calling specific women dumb or something.
Okay.
How about pig?
Blanket attack women.
So how about Miss Piggy to a reporter? You okay with that?
Go dig out something else. Okay, go ahead.
I'm asking you, Miss Piggy to a reporter. Are you okay with that, or you think I need to relax? So you don't.
What?
Calling a reporter Miss Piggy. Are you okay with that, or just it's me that needs to relax? Miss Piggy.
Little Piggy.
Yeah, I don't care.
You don't care. Okay,
so
hold on, Leonard. If you talk, okay, hold on, sir.
He makes no sense at all.
Sir, hold on. Everybody stop talking. Everybody stop talking. That includes you, doofus. Okay, I just called you doofus. Okay, so you think I need to relax, and you think I'm getting a little hyped up. Stop talking. It's my turn to talk now. It's my show. Shut up. You don't have a problem with the president calling a reporter Miss Piggy because he doesn't like a legitimate question about Epstein. You're totally okay with that. The leader of the free world. But if you have a local radio host that is talking the way I'm talking now, it annoys you to the point that you need to tell me to relax. Sir, it sounds like you have different standards for different people, but let's just say you're right, which, by the way, you're not. He's been disrespectful to women his entire life. But let's just say you're 100% right for a moment, sir. How about nicknames for everybody that he disagrees with? How about telling 6 Democrats that they deserve to be hung and executed? What do you think about that, sir? You get to defend that too?
Did he call them for the...
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Did he call treason?
He said in a Truth Social, sir, you asked me a question. You asked me a question, and now I'm going to answer it. In a Truth Social tweet, he put out that they deserve to be executed for treason. He put that in a Truth Social tweet, and he said even in some countries they could hang you. So he put that out there as well. So now I'm going to see if you're willing to defend that. Are you defending that language of 6 elected Democrat officials where he threatens to execute them? By the way, the judge threw it out. I don't even know if you're aware of that. The judge threw out this Pete Hegseth nonsense in charging them because
I heard it.
Okay, so are you willing to call that out, that Donald Trump was wrong and he shouldn't have done that?
Well, I didn't see the Truth Social.
I'm sorry, what?
See that?
He didn't see the Truth
Okay,
Social
I
post, so he's
just-
not prepared
I just
to
read
argue
it.
something he's arguing.
Okay, so you voted for a guy and you're unaware that he threatened execution of 6 elected officials, and it doesn't bother you that you're ill-informed, that you don't even know the story.
Read me the tweet.
By the way, I don't even
He
believe
just
you.
called
Does it bother you
to
that?
annoy
Hold on
you.
a second. Does it bother you that Donald Trump is in the Epstein? Hey, shut up! I'm asking you another question, doofus. Does it bother you
Quiet,
that Trump?
Piggy.
Does it bother you, Piggy, that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files over? Hey, Piggy, Miss Piggy, be quiet.
He said
Miss
it's okay.
Piggy. Miss Piggy, be quiet. I'm not done asking you questions. I'm not going to read the tweet just because you don't know it, because you're ill-informed, doofus. Okay, so we're going to call you Miss Piggy. Miss Piggy, does it bother you at all that Donald Trump, does it bother you at all? Clearly, you don't care. Okay, you can call me whatever you want.
Well, he
sir, I
said
don't
it's
care.
okay.
Pot him down and let me ask the question, please. Miss Piggy, does it bother you that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files named over 3,000 times? Does that trouble you at all, Miss Piggy? Does it bother you, Miss Piggy?
Why was he named 3?
You don't answer a question with a question. I need you to focus, Miss Piggy, and get the MAGA wax out of your ears. We're going to try this one more time. Sorry, Leonard. I know you're being
No,
very
he said
patient.
the word piggy's okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. So Miss Piggy, that's Miss MAGA Piggy. Does it, listen to the question, okay? Is it problematic to you, even if Donald Trump didn't commit a crime, which, by the way, I believe he did, but let's just assume for a moment he didn't. Is it problematic to you that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands of times, and the over 300 redacted pages that they've allegedly released so far have Donald Trump's name all over it? Does it bother you that he associated himself with one of the biggest sex traffickers in American history for over 10 years? Does any of that bother you at all? Or would you rather talk about Joe Biden sniffing hair? Does that bother you at all,
I
sir?
don't care about Joe Biden.
You don't care?
You
Okay.
mentioned Joe
So
Biden.
answer my question then, please. Does that bother you that he's in there over 3,000 times? Please answer that, Miss Piggy.
If there's something provable in there that makes him
Gotcha.
guilty of
Yes.
actual...
Didn't ask
Yes.
you. Hold on. So, sir, you didn't pay attention to my question, so I'm going to have to repeat it again because I knew you would use that excuse. Forget about alleged criminality. That wasn't the question. I didn't ask you if you think he committed a crime. What I asked you was, is it problematic at all for you, whether he committed a crime or not, that he's in the Epstein files thousands of times and he was one of Jeffrey Epstein's best friends? The question isn't about criminality. Can you please answer that question? Is that a problem to you at all?
If it's not about criminality, no.
Okay, so it doesn't bother you. He's in the files.
Criminality.
Got you. So
Okay,
he
in
wasn't.
other countries, they're arresting people.
Yeah. It
for-
doesn't.
they're
it doesn't
arresting.
okay, so it doesn't bother you that you voted for a guy who's in the Epstein files thousands of times. Gotcha, Miss Piggy. Let me ask you another one, Miss Piggy. Okay, does it bother you that the guy who you voted for bragged sexually
I
about
can't
going
believe he's
into
still on the phone.
bragged sexually about going into teenage girls' locker rooms without their permission on the Howard Stern show? As we pod you back up, I need you to stop talking and I need you to pay attention and get the Miss Piggy. I need you to pay attention and stop talking. Does it bother
I
you?
am.
Okay,
I told you
no,
about
you're
it.
talking. You're
I
talking.
can't believe he's still on the phone.
Stop talking and pay attention. Does it bother you
Shoot.
that Donald Trump bragged about going into teenage girls' locker rooms in a pageant that he owned without their permission? If you were
He didn't brag about the teenage girl locker room.
yes, he did. He did it on
Yes,
the
he did.
pot him down again. Okay, so, sir, it's not my fault that you're ill-informed. You can go on YouTube and you could listen to the interview yourself. Because you're ill-informed and very dumb, I'm not going to waste time and play the
Yeah,
clip
Miss
for
Miss
you.
Piggy had too
But
many
this-
gummies today.
You see, Miss Piggy, this guy went on the Howard Stern show and he said it on the Howard Stern show. He went in there without their permission.
He
We
bragged.
we also know that several women now, they're now women, they were teenagers back then, all corroborated the story that he went in there without their permission when they were undressing. Sir, are those women lying? Are the eyewitnesses lying? Are the people that were in there? Are they lying?
Was it his show? I don't know, man.
Okay, so hold on.
No, you just told him.
By your standards, quote, if it's his show, then that gives him the right to go into a locker room. So by your standards, if you own a gym and you're a man, that gives you the right to go into the women's locker room without their permission. Do you realize how stupid you are? Let's start
According
there.
to Miss Piggy.
Hold on. Miss Piggy, let's start there, Miss Piggy, okay? If you own a workout facility during normal business hours, Does that give you the right as a man to go in the woman's locker room without their permission? It does. Okay, thank you. No. We agree on. Okay, thank you for answering that question honestly. Now let's go to the pageant, because you just said he owned it, right? As making an excuse. So now let's start over. Donald Trump did run the pageant. He owned the pageant. Does that mean that gives him the right to go into a teenage girl locker room when they are undressing without permission? Yes or no, sir? Please.
No, but did he?
Okay, no.
That's the question.
Yes,
no.
he did. And the reason why we know
he did
is, and I'll repeat myself once again, as you curl yourself into your Miss Piggy MAGA ball, okay? He bragged about doing it on the Howard Stern show. He owned it. He admitted it. Not only that, but several women corroborated the story. I have to repeat myself with facts to you over and over and over again.
He didn't hide from it.
Sir, to close this conversation, because you sound like a very logical and intelligent Miss Piggy, who won the 2020 election, free and fair? Who won that?
Biden.
Thank you. What
I can tell you my theory.
No. I don't care about your theory. I asked the questions and I can give 2 Fs about your theory. Does it bother you that there was does January 6th bother you? Because I think we know that if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the election, January 6th doesn't happen. Did that day bother you at all? Did it bother you?
Yeah.
It did. Good. Why do you think it happened? Why do you think it happened?
And why are you a MAGA?
No, it's a yes or no question. No, you relax and learn how to answer it. No, you relax, Miss Piggy. You relax. It's my show, not yours. Does January 6th, thank you. It's so nice of you to let me talk on my own show. I really appreciate it. Does January 6th happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election? Does it happen?
No.
Okay, thank you.
BLM, right?
So I'll get to BLM in a moment, but that's what we call MAGA Miss Piggy whataboutism. So you just admitted that January 6th doesn't happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election. So why shouldn't we hold Trump partially responsible then? Go ahead and answer that for me, sir.
Because in mobs and riots, there are people that will do any number of things.
That's not
like violence. And he did specifically call for peace.
No, he specifically lied, knowing that he lost the 2020.
It was directed violence.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about his action. No, hold on. Let's talk about his action. You just said he called for peace. So in the 4.5 hours from the start of January 6th to the end, what did Donald Trump do? He did release a video 4 hours later. But during those 4 hours,
he was banned on Twitter.
No, he was not. During that 4 hours, what did he do? What did he do? Did he call in the National Guard? Did he tell people to stop? Tell me what he did. Tell me.
I don't know. Man.
You don't know. Okay. The reason why you don't know is because he did nothing. He sat on his ass and he did nothing.
Your question, you want to attribute the entire riot.
Didn't say that. Okay? Didn't say that. You're now putting words in my mouth. I recommend you take Donald Trump's mushroom out of your mouth and pay attention. Okay, Miss Piggy? I never said he takes full responsibility. Never said that. Let me ask you a question. The people who actually beat cops with their own batons. Sorry, Leonard, I know you're being very patient here, but this guy's hilarious.
I can't believe he's still on
the people who beat cops with their own batons. He called all those people hostages and patriots. Were you okay with those pardons, sir? And are those people hostages and patriots?
No, I don't think all of them.
Right.
Then why vote for Donald Trump?
So why would you vote for a guy who calls everybody that day hostages and patriots? Some of those people who beat cops.
I didn't vote for him because of that.
Okay, so
let's just put it that way.
So you're just willing to put that aside. That's not that important to you.
And the Epstein files.
Well, just like you were willing.
And the dressing room.
of
No. I'm not putting it aside. No. I'm not putting it aside because it's not what I believe. I put it aside because I knew a buffoon like you would use it as an excuse, which you tried to use anyway. That's why I did a prerequisite and I said, forget about the criminality. I asked you a question and I phrased it a certain way because you have no way of answering it honestly. And then you still brought up possible criminality. Let me ask you another question, since you don't think he did anything wrong. You're doing a great job answering them, sir. Why do you think he treated Ghislaine Maxwell to a Club Med facility? Why do you think days after his own personal attorney interviewed Maxwell, she was put into a Club Med facility with a puppy dog, free snacks, free internet, guest, 24/7 security. She's allowed to play tennis and pickleball. Why do you think they sent her to a low minimum security Club Med facility 2 days after that? Why is the Trump administration treating her that way, sir, like a VIP? Give me one logical reason.
I feel like any answer I give, you're going to say.
No, I'm waiting for an answer, please. I'm waiting for an answer. No, you try to answer it first because you sound like a very smart guy. Go ahead. Try to answer, sir. Give me one logical reason.
Well, at least she's behind bars, right?
That wasn't the question. She's a convicted felon.
She's being treated like no one else but who's been behind bars.
So tell me and answer the question.
For the
Give me
same crime.
one logical reason why the Trump administration is treating her like a VIP. I'm still waiting. Please, sir.
Maybe to get more information out of her.
Okay, so here's what. Yeah, you're right. You don't know. Here's why you're wrong. Because Maxwell 2 weeks ago, with her attorney, said she would plead the fifth and not answer any questions unless she gets a full pardon by Donald Trump. Wrong. Let's try that again, sir. First attempt was very wrong. She refuses to answer any questions now. So let's try that again. Give me a logical reason why you think the Trump administration sent her to a Club Med facility. By the way, they haven't sent her back to the other prison she was in. Try again, sir, because you were wrong on that one. So go ahead. I'll give you another chance.
Let's see when time goes by.
Didn't ask you about time going by. I asked you to give me one logical reason.
You only give
sir.
You only want me to give you.
No, I want no, sir. Exactly sir, you just okay, fine. Let's go by that theory. Let's dissect your first answer. You said maybe she's giving up names, right? That's what you just said. Sir, I just said she pled the fifth 2 weeks ago. And she said she would only answer questions, let alone give up names, if she got a full pardon from Donald Trump. So do you still stand by that answer? Or would you say, Brian, you're right, I didn't know that?
If she started giving up names. If she started giving up names, would you want a pardon from her?
That's a hypothetical. She's not giving up names.
Sir.
That's just a hypothetical. The answer could be anything.
Sir, it's not
Yes, it is.
Sir, she's not. She did not. Sir, I need you to pay attention. Sir, she just said she pled the fifth. So your question is stupid. It's not happening. The reason why you keep going with it, well, sir, the reason why you keep going with it is you can't come up. You're not capable of saying, geez, maybe they're covering for Donald Trump.
Right now.
Well, guess.
Okay,
if I'm not capable, that's not what your wife said, sir. Have a nice day. You're a waste of my time.
I can't believe he stayed on that long. Too many gummies. I think he was like overdosing on gummies.
You're the guy, you're typical MAGA supporter. You proved in this conversation you're extremely ill-informed. You're uneducated,
as they all are.
And you're not able to answer a question honestly, and you continue to make excuses for orange turd. You are an embarrassment to this country. And quite frankly, sir, I don't think your IQ is high enough for you to ever call into the show again. Have a nice day.
I can't believe he stayed on the line for as long as he did with you. You know, he said, I guess the name Piggy was okay, but I can't see a grown man staying on the line when, you know, you're clearly chewing him out like a child. And he's trying to tell us when to talk and you when to talk and how to talk and whether or not to have emotion when you talk. Who does that? What kind of, that's such,
but he can
it's like a control freak.
But Trump could call people names and call women Miss Piggy, and that's totally okay.
Yeah, and like, he told them.
But he has a problem with a radio host raising his voice. Different standards for different people. Let's go to David. David is next. What's up, David?
Hey, thank you, Brian. So at yesterday's, State of the Union speech, when Trump brought up Irina Zarutska, the woman that was killed by that animal, and then he started to basically honor her and her mother. And I noticed a lot of Democrats didn't stand or seem to honor her. Do you have any opinion as to why they didn't do that?
First of all, I haven't interviewed anybody that was there in the room, so obviously the answer would be no. But I would also say, as I pointed out, a lie, talking about the person who committed this heinous crime, claiming that he wasn't born in this country, that he was an immigrant. Right. Are you okay with that? Maybe the start of the conversation was a lie instead of talking about this horrible victim and this horrible crime.
I'm not okay with that, but I mean, why do you? So you don't have any opinion as to why they didn't?
I think I'll say, David. I'll give you my opinion. My opinion is. Okay, sure. The reason they didn't stand is because the background political implication is that the Democrats are allowing open borders and allowing all these people to come in. The guy has been here for years and years. It was a random attack.
He was born in Carolina.
So David, they didn't stand because let me just finish. They didn't stand because they have no respect for the fact that Trump is trying to use his tragedy as a political launching point for his facts that weren't facts at all. They were just lies.
So I'll answer that too. So I'll answer that too.
Yes, it was. He
Okay, so
politicized.
hold on. Okay, again, I gave you the crime numbers, so that's irrelevant. But let me give you my answer. Yes, I did. I spoke about it earlier today. It's not my fault if you weren't paying attention. But let me answer your question now after Leonard just did.
Sure.
Let me be very clear. If I was in that room, which I wouldn't have been, I've said from the beginning, I don't think any Democrats should have been in there and given him any respect at all. I would never stand up and clap for anything that man does or anything that man says. And it's not because I have something that you guys like to use as Trump derangement syndrome. I think the deranged people are the people that stand up and clap when he brags about how many people he took off of.
A woman who was murdered.
No, I would honor the. Excuse me. I'll tell you what I think is. I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you what I think is deranged. When you use victims to try to score political points. Example.
And that's why they didn't stand.
Example.
That's not why.
Example. Okay, so first of all,
stand because they don't
first.
care
Okay, so let me finish here. For you to make the statement, which I think is absolutely despicable, to say that Democrats in there that didn't stand don't care that this woman was brutally okay. Well, then you're an idiot for making a statement like that. You're an idiot, and every single time you call, no, you are. No, yeah, you're reading. Okay, well, I'm reading your phone call, and the only crimes that you seem to have a problem with in this country are crimes that are committed by brown people. Every time you call into the show, you talk about undocumented. You talk about no. Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. No. Here's what I said. Here's what I said. You're not listening. I need you to pay attention.
Sure.
When you call into this show, you always talk about undocumented immigrants and you talk about brown people. I care about, okay, yeah, but you call people animals and you only seem to,
maybe because
you only seem to, the point I'm trying to make, sir, is that every time you call in, you always seem to talk about victims of brown people that commit heinous crimes. I'm waiting for you to call in and talk about maybe a MAGA supporter or a white supremacist that commits a crime. I'm waiting for the day that David calls in and says, gosh, that Trump supporter or that white supremacist.
There's plenty.
Yeah, but I never in the history of this show have ever heard you do that before. I've never heard you do that before. And let me tell you something. Let me be clear. I wouldn't stand up and clap for anything that man does or says. Do you want to know why? It's no disrespect to the family of the heinous crime that was okay. Well, guess what? That's your opinion, okay? But you won't call. That's your opinion. Guess what? I'm not going to. No.
To the mother of the dead.
Okay, so let's talk about disrespect.
No, it's not.
Let's talk about disrespect. You want to preach to me about disrespect? The second this story started, when he brought it up, he said it was from an undocumented immigrant. Don't you think that? Don't you think? Oh, is that disrespectful to all undocumented immigrants or brown people in this country? But you don't seem to care about that. Was it disrespectful?
I don't care. I told you he was wrong, and
he was wrong.
I don't think he did that intentionally. He just wasn't.
So I've told you, I've been very clear to you in this phone call. I would never stand up and clap for anything Donald Trump does or says.
I'm asking about the Democrats, Brian.
So instead of criticizing people in the room, this is what's amazing, David, with respect about this conversation. I listed dozens of things that Donald Trump said. And by the way, there's more than that. And I had the receipts and the facts to back up all the lies that Donald Trump said last night. But you don't want to call in and talk about that for a good faith conversation. You seem to be upset because there was a moment that Democrats didn't stand up and clap. Did you have a problem with Marjorie Taylor Greene? Did you have a problem with Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert when they were screaming at Joe Biden during his speech? Did you have a problem with them?
Was that disrespectful?
When Joe Biden was Was it?
Of course, they were. Those two were complete fools and idiots for that.
Why didn't you call into my show and complain about that when it happened? I bet you didn't call into any shows and complain about that, did you? But when Democrats don't stand up, that's when you have a problem.
I complain to you about every.
No. You never complained once on this show. You never called in and complained about anything like that.
Okay, well, David, you got your explanation. Okay, the explanation is that Trump was trying to use it for political gain, and they were not going to play his game. That's what happened. You know why? Because they were too smart.
Right,
they were smarter than him.
I agree with you. I'm going to do a test with David Leonard right now because me and Leonard talked about this earlier. David, since we're talking about people standing up and sitting down, which is, by the way, not that important to me in the grand scheme of things. Apparently, it's more important to you,
I
but
know
that's
it's
okay.
not important.
But
You're
that's
honoring
okay.
dead
Well, you have a
That's
right to
okay.
stand or
That's
not
okay.
stand.
That's okay. So David doesn't seem to understand that they weren't not standing up in honoring a woman who was brutally murdered. They weren't standing up because they don't want to respect Donald Trump. But that's okay. So when Donald Trump bragged about 2.1 million people that are off of food stamps, we know a large portion of those people are people that desperately need it. And every single Republican in that room got up and started clapping. Would you say that's disrespectful to people in this country, some of whom that are struggling to make ends meet, and now they don't have food stamps? Was that disrespectful?
To the people who are getting off SNAP, yeah, I would say to a certain extent it is, sure.
To a certain
So all of them were disrespectful to a certain extent for disrespecting people who need food assistance who are now hungry. And that was okay.
Yeah, it's disrespecting. If you're taking it away from them and it shouldn't be taken away, sure, that's a form of disrespect.
That's what happened.
I think you're assuming that I'm agreeing with everything. Look, for what it's worth, most of the State of the Union with Trump, he was wrong about most things that he said. I knew you wouldn't want to mention how Democrats wouldn't want to stand up for so many.
What are you talking? We not only mentioned it, we defined it. I took a position, and Brian
all,
took a position on it.
First of all,
what more do you want?
I said David didn't listen to the start of the
program. We took a position.
Hold on. David didn't listen to the start of the show, or either that or he chose not to. David, I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning of the show when I criticized Democrats. Clearly, you either didn't. Did you listen to the beginning of the show?
Look, I may have missed it. If
you may have missed it. You may have missed it. Okay, so
mistake.
It's okay. You made an assumption, which I get from people who support Trump all the time. First of all, I didn't think any Democrats should have been in there. I thought they all shouldn't have been in there. If you're just going to sit there and you're going to make faces, it's better that you're not there at all. That's number one. Number two, I've criticized the Democrats, not for not standing up, but I criticized the Democrats like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, who were screaming in the middle of Donald Trump's speech that I don't personally believe moves the ball forward and helps in any way. And I also, to an extent, criticized Al Green as well for the sign he brought in there, which I thought was inappropriate, and it wasn't the right place to do so. But at the same time, dozens of lies. Even you self-admittedly said that most of the stuff that Donald Trump said you didn't agree with or you didn't.
Right.
It was dozens of lies. It was an embarrassment. And David, the most important part, whether you agree or disagree with Democrats that were standing up or not, is this. Can you define to me or say that there are any independents or people out there that are going to vote Republican in 2026 in the midterms because of what took place last night? Because I can't.
No, well, look, I don't think State of the Unions have a particularly large amount of sway. I mean, people are pretty. I think the Democrats are really going to crush the Republicans come the midterms, but that's kind of a separate issue. I mean, all I'm saying is they didn't stand multiple times for things that, by the way, like I get it if they don't want to stand for things like when Trump says my economic agenda is good and they disagree, but when they're not standing for like people who were murdered. It's just disrespectful, and
David,
it shows that they just don't care.
David, this is for you. David, this is for you because I know how important it is for you to for people that stand up and clap. I know that's very important to you. So I'm standing up right now
and honor a dead woman.
No, I'm standing up and I'm honoring
a woman that was murdered.
I'm honoring a Trump mushroom gobbler.
No,
I'm honoring you.
And I choose to stay seated.
No. I'm honoring a Trump mushroom gobbler.
And I'm not. And I'm not standing.
I'm not standing up for Donald Trump. I'm standing up for you, and I'm clapping. Thank you, David, for admitting that you voted for a complete imbecile. I appreciate that. Thank you,
David. Do you have a more relevant question, like a question about how it affects America, how it affects the United States, not just they didn't stand up and it's political. Do you have a better question?
It is about the State of the Union, and it's also to David. It's more important that there was a moment where Democrats didn't stand up.
Yeah, he's trying to cherry pick something like a gotcha.
Then the fact that 95% of what Donald Trump said yesterday were blatant lies. But I clapped for you, David, and
I remain seated.
Yeah. So you're gonna criticize Leonard for not standing
yes.
up?
You should call back and say, "Why didn't you stand, Leonard?" And I'll be glad to give him a description of why not.
Leonard, I guess I'm the patriot here and you're not because I stood up.
God, you're so.
Yeah.
That was so good of you to do that.
Leonard, you should have stood up. That was very inappropriate.
You got a bleeding heart. And don't be so passionate all the time. God, can I
relax?
Say that?
Relax. Leonard,
that's what he said. He goes, "You need to relax. I can't keep up."
Hey, do you care that Donald Trump?
hey, slow down.
Do you care that Donald Trump's
Do
you care that Donald Trump's in the Epstein files thousands of times? No. But Brian, you need to relax. 702.
Actually, it was more like, Brian, you need to relax.
Stand up and give me a standing ovation. Let's go to Shelly. Shelly's next up on PTL. Hey, Shelly, what's up?
He goes, hey. I can't keep up. Hey.
Go ahead, Shelly.
What's up?
What's on your mind?
Radio in the background.
Radio's on.
Okay. Hey, you guys. How are you?
Good.
Hi,
What's
Shelly.
on your mind, Shelly?
I
I am going to hurry, and then you can give your commentary of what I said off the air, okay? Because I know you're running up against the clock. All right. There's a few things. Donald Trump, Trump RX, okay? I.e. good RX, but he just wants it named after him. And the Trump counts for kids, he said by the time they're 18, they would have $100,000. Freaking possible. And the he said that the countries wanted to leave them like they are because afraid of them being worse.
Mm-hmm.
And he blamed a lot of things on the Democrats, which wasn't their fault. And he martyred Charlie Kirk. But the worst thing was the Purple Heart that was given to that military man. And then he said he always wanted one. Mr. Bonespurs always wanted one. Okay? Oh, my God.
Shelley,
my hair is about to explode.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't have any hair left on the top of my head. It's been pulled out already. You know?
Yeah, so Trump is saying $1,000 investment is going to be $100,000 by the time they grow up. That's almost literally impossible unless someone's going to contribute to it every month for the entire 18 years. So once again, inaccuracy.
I appreciate the call, Shelley. Good to hear from you.
Thanks, Shelley.
702-221-7283. Let's go to Steve. Steve is next up on PTL. What's up, Steve? Hi, Steve. Go right ahead.
Hi. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Hi. So I just wanted to call. First, I was going to hang up with those two MAGA moron callers. I just can't believe people are that stupid. But anyways, with and I vote Republican more than I vote Democrat state and locally. But here in Illinois, there's and I want to vote Republican for governor because I can't stand my governor. But the Republicans running, they won't call out Trump. They're all Trumpers. And for those independents like me, and I vote fiscally conservative and socially I'm liberal to middle. But why are Republicans so afraid? And because if they just admitted that Trump was a bad guy, they'd get my vote.
The reason why, so it's a good question, my friend, that you asked. And
he sounds like a true conservative Republican.
Yeah, you can tell me if you agree or not, but there's two different types of people. There are people that are in office or they're benefiting financially because they're wealthy, and they know that Trump's a really bad guy, but they want to remain in power or line their pockets. And then the rest of the people, like some of the people who call into this show that are Trump supporters, are just simply ill-informed or unwilling to admit anything. Those are the two types of people.
Yeah, a true conservative Republican, like you sound like you're truly a conservative Republican, would never agree to the big beautiful bill where they raise taxes, and they're not conservative on social issues. They're not conservative on religious issues. They're not conservative on anything. They're not conservative on foreign affairs. And I think there's a difference between conservative Republicans and MAGAs. And in my opinion, Steve, you're never going to get a MAGA to go against Trump because they're not true conservative Republicans. That's just my opinion.
Steve, thank you for the call, by the way. I do appreciate you. Let's go to John. John is next on line 5. What's up, John? Thanks for calling in.
Little rapid fire.
What's up, John?
Hey, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to ask your opinion about the State of the Union.
Okay.
Just a second.
Is that it? Is that
my phone up?
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, what did you think of that gal Allie Rodman getting kicked out for standing and just standing there and not doing anything other than just standing and
who? I'm sorry. Who that got kicked out? Who are you speaking of?
Is this Brian?
Yeah.
Hey, Brian. I wanted to ask your opinion. What did you think of the Sergeant of Arms at the State of the Union last night kicking out that Allie Rodman who got dragged out of her car when she was just standing there in protest, not spending? Or
I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not aware of. Leonard, are you aware of what he's speaking of? I'm ill-informed when it comes to this issue.
Where did you get that? Where did you get that information from?
Yeah,
Which
I'm not
news
aware.
source?
I'm not aware.
Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let me look into that. I'll make a deal with you, my friend. Let me look into that because I don't want to answer it because I don't know enough about it, right? And so I want to be careful because I need to be informed on this. I'm unaware. And then you'll feel free to call back tomorrow, and I'll happily take your call, and I'll try to give you an answer to that. But unlike these MAGA idiots, I don't just answer a question without knowing what I'm talking about. So I can't do that here, my friend. I thought you were talking about Al Green. Let's go to Jose. Jose is next up on PTL. What's up, Jose?
Yeah, man, I watched for a little bit last night, and I'll be candid. I voted for the fool in 2016. Worst mistake of my life.
That's okay. Hey, listen,
And
Jose, I didn't vote for Hillary. I didn't vote for Trump either.
Now I have a chance to reform.
But Jose, we all make mistakes, man. The hard part is admitting it, which you did, which I appreciate.
But the thing is, man, last night what I saw was a disgusting display of somebody who's a wannabe dictator.
I agree. Yeah.
You would say the sycophants would literally just stand up and clap for the dumbest things.
That's probably the worst part. The worst part is that he has support to be a dictator.
Jose, can I ask you a question? Where are you from, if you don't mind me asking? What's your nationality?
From a small town in southwest Kansas. I'm Mexican-American.
Got you. Then you're the perfect person to ask this. How do you think he represented people like you, Mexicans, when he, how do you think he represented minorities in his speech last night?
He represented us in the worst light ever, especially because I know people who are undocumented, obviously, and they are not what he makes us out to seem.
Good family people, right?
Exactly. And, a lot of the immigrants in the neighborhood where I live get up 4 a.m. just to go work an hour away, which here, that's a whole different town.
Jose, did you vote for Biden and Kamala 2020, 2024?
Yes, I did.
Good for you, sir. Good for you. We need more.
Yes,
we need more people like you out there.
Matter of fact, I voted for Kamala in this last election in Tim Walz. And I'll be honest with y'all, whatever this upcoming election brings, genuinely, I am scared in that time in between. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I speak to people, good Americans and people like you that are Mexican and people that love their country, and they're worried and they're scared. And guess what? I'm scared too. I'm scared for people like you, and I'm certainly even scared for people like me who speak out publicly about this stuff, Jose. But I'm glad that there are good people like you out there. We all make mistakes. I certainly made a mistake in 2016. It certainly sounds like you did too. And let's just make sure we don't make a mistake like that again. And that's all we can do. Right?
Yeah, man. And I genuinely sometimes, I hear the most, and I come from people who, represent that side of the aisle who came around to being kind of in the middle after the Charlie Kirk assassination. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because even that was handled with spectacle, and it shouldn't have been. You're
right.
to death, even if you don't agree with him.
I agree. I agree. And as I said, what happened to him, and I appreciate you, by the way, Jose. I really do appreciate you calling in. Please call back anytime.
How any Mexican can vote for Donald Trump is beyond me.
Yeah, but we can go down the list. How could you vote for him if you're a veteran, if you're a cop, a former cop like
a woman?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree. We can go down the list, Leonard. But we got a few more YouTube super chats that I do want to get to, and then we're going to get to a few more callers because we are running out of time, Leonard. It goes by fast this 2 hours.
You want me to read Shelley's comment?
Go ahead.
Shelley, who's a regular of the show. Sorry, I was getting other phone calls while I was on the radio.
That's okay.
I was talking about tariffs and the countries wanting to leave them the way they were because the countries knew they would be worse.
Yeah, that's okay. I think we have a few more.
We could talk about tariffs next time if that's on their mind.
Sure. I think we have a few more super chats that Numchuck is putting up there on the feed, Leonard, if you want to read those for us.
I don't know. I'm not getting it.
Oh, that's weird. Maybe you're not.
Oh, wait, I'm not in live. I'm not in real time.
There you go. That's why.
I'm in the past.
Come on, Leonard.
So many Republicans.
Get with the program. Stand up, clap.
Case Idea says it is disrespectful to try to cut veteran disability pay to the ones he awarded medals to. And he's done more damage to veterans than any president that I could think of in recent history. He's fired them. He's gotten rid of support staff. He's taken away benefits and how any veterans support him. Like I said, but did you see all the generals and all the military people at the speech last night. It looked older white male. I mean, that was
Leonard,
pretty much the norm.
Yeah, they're all like they all look like Roger Stone or Caroline Levitt's
It was like
husband.
it was a crayon box
I know,
to be
it's
all
sick.
white ones.
We got to get to some quick phone calls here, as many as we can. Let's see. Let's go to Lou. Lou is next up on PTL. We're going to do rapid fire here because I want to try to get to as many people as I can. What's up, Lou?
Hey, Brian, listen, couple of things. It's to see grown men when he walked into that place act like they did, like Jesus Christ came through the door. And another thing, it's just sickening how a grown man.
You see the guy? You see the guy who had him sign his tie? I mean, these people are sickos. They're sickos.
Did you see the lady that tried to kiss him, but she
Yeah.
didn't want to get shellac on her lips? Away from him?
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh.
One more thing, Brian.
Yeah.
Listen, he put the nail in his own coffin last night by not bringing up the women that were sexually abused, because he can't talk about it because he's guilty. And that's the honest to God truth. And for those records that come out yesterday about that the DOJ hid material that had Trump not only raping a young girl, but physically abusing her.
I'm with you, my friend, and I appreciate the phone call.
If they weren't guilty, they wouldn't be hiding all the files.
Agree with that as well. Let's go to Maggie. Maggie's next. Hey, Maggie, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling in. Hi, Maggie.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, Maggie. Go ahead.
Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Hi, I just have a real quick question for you and Leonard.
Okay.
For anyone that missed it, can you just give us a summary of what happened last night with his speech?
It's
for all of
It
us.
was a mixed bag of lies, and
Isn't that what we've been doing?
It was bootlicking, and it was the Republicans just clapping for everything he said.
I
and
disagree. I think
it was
Leonard,
embarrassing.
I think Donald Trump did a wonderful job. He was very honest. He was great.
Did you stand and clap at home?
I was standing.
Why not? And if so, why not?
I was standing and clapping the whole time. I was so proud of our president, and I just thought he showed a lot of respect for everyday Americans that are struggling. And boy, I walked away from that speech saying to myself, he really cares about
Maggie,
this,
in the
doesn't he?
future, the show begins at 12 p.m. And I'm just saying that for future reference because we spent quite a bit of time in
Maggie,
the beginning going over it.
Maggie, it's a fair question, but do me a favor, okay? Go back on. Where do you watch my show? On YouTube? Where do you watch it?
Oh, I listen to you live.
Yeah, I know. Just what platform? Like, where do you listen?
YouTube.
Okay, good. So Maggie, do me a favor, okay? Listen to the first hour of the show. Go back in the podcast. When this show is over, you'll be able to go back and listen to it.
It's posted.
I literally broke down everything for you, okay? And then call back tomorrow and tell me what you think. Is that fair?
So much.
Is that fair?
Yes. Thank
Great.
you so much.
Thank you for
All right,
calling.
Maggie. Thank you.
For everyone
Thank
who
you.
did miss it,
Yeah.
they need to keep up with it.
Thank you,
for
Maggie.
making it
Thank you,
for everybody
Maggie.
else.
Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate you. And listen, I also know not everybody can listen to the show live, right? We're having a little fun. Maggie sounds like a very nice lady. So just go back and listen to the pod on my YouTube page, and we broke down everything. Let's go to Darlene, the MAGA destroyer. What's up, Darlene?
Darlene.
Hey guys, I got one question for both of you.
Yeah.
This is to the crybaby MAGAs and Republicans that keep griping about not standing.
Wah, wah, wah.
Guys, why would anyone on this side stand up for an orange turd that says "I hate you" during the memorial? Why would we?
That's true.
Well, I think they were savvy enough to know that it was political. It was not about the victim. It was not about what happened. He was trying to twist it into something to make it seem like there's something going on in the country that is not going on. It's a very small percentage. And me personally, I don't mind them going. And I'm glad they sat in protest because I got the message. I got it.
Thank you. Thank you. I almost called you Shelly for a second.
Thanks,
there.
Darlene.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Darlene. Do we have enough time to take one more caller? It's got to be really quick here. Let's see. Who do we have next? Let's go to Dave. Dave is next.
Speak fast.
What's up, Dave? Hi, Dave. Are you there?
Oh, no.
Did we lose David? David? Do I need
there?
Do I need to give you a standing ovation? Can you think about the criticisms that I've taken today? Okay, hold on. Not standing up and clapping. Another one was relax.
Speaking passionately.
Yeah. Relax. You're too passionate. That was another criticism. But I gotta.
You're not listening.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, exactly.
You're like, I was listening. I heard exactly what you said.
You asked too many questions. That was another one.
We talk at the same time.
Yeah. It just,
Hey, let's talk at the same time real quick.
yeah,
Say,
just absolutely
we
ridiculous.
should talk at the same time.
So I do want to remind people to go to my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. Also, my website is pushinglimits.live. There's a lot to unravel. By the way, Leonard, if you haven't gotten enough of Brian Shapiro today,
I haven't.
I think you have. But if you haven't, I'm doing Roland Martin's show today.
Oh, good.
So I'm getting out of here, going to head home from my home studio, and then I'm doing Roland's show. I love Roland Martin. I think he's great. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm certainly looking forward to that. What do you got going on the rest of the day? I wish I lived your life, by the way, of picking lemon trees and just you have a nice wife and you relax and you enjoy your retirement. I got to do this crap.
I have to go home and have to wipe down the Land Rover. I haven't.
What a horrible chore.
I haven't cleaned it in a couple of days. I'm really shirking my responsibilities.
What a horrible chore. Oh,
Yeah.
my God. I feel so sorry for you.
Well, it's white and it has black trim and it's really,
It's white.
Yeah.
Oh, Donald Trump would like it. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
But it has black trim.
Yeah. Oh, well, he won't like that. He won't like that. Stand up and clap. I mean, really, folks, is that really what we're looking at here? Is that the criticism is
He was trying to cherry pick something stupid.
I voted for the guy who's in the Epstein files 3,000 times, who literally lied about everything last night. But boy, I'm really angry those Democrats didn't get up and clap. I mean, I'm just like, dude, I'm just so tired of these people. I'm just so tired.
I don't think they're going to get out of it because even if they continue to hide those files,
Yeah.
one of the problems is the victims are still alive.
Yeah.
And the victims still know the stories.
Yeah.
They're just waiting to see what the DOJ
Yes.
does. But later on, their story can still come out.
Yes, I'm with you there.
They're in trouble.
So if anybody out there wants to support what we do here, if you enjoy what we do, besides word of mouth, because that's obviously very important, check out my website, pushingthelimits.live, where you can make donations, monthly donations, a one-time donation. We don't care, $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you could afford. I'd rather you donate to my show than try to invest into Donald Trump's crypto scandal. So pushingthelimits.live. Leonard, always a pleasure when you are in
It
the
was fun,
studio.
yeah.
I appreciate it, especially on a very busy news day like today. So thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. All right, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Appreciate you guys as well. Even those Trump mushroom gobblers, we appreciate your calls as well. I give you all a standing ovation. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 460 Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having